Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is not the only politician who says things that are really, really dumb. By no means. But she does it so often. There's very few people like her who continually say completely and utter nonsensical things. And I think there is a really, really clear similarity between Trump and Cortez in that they both just tweet what's on their mind, and sometimes people find those tweets to be outrageous for various reasons. People don't like Trump because he's crass. When he tweets something out, sometimes people challenge the information, but a lot of times they're like, oh my God, what did Trump tweet someone, Stormy Daniels, like horseface or something? Because of that, people think Trump is crass, brash, he's uncouth. He's criticized for just saying these things. Cortez, on the other hand, just tweets things off the top of her head that are plumb wrong and gets called out time and time again. And she also, in interviews, says things that are just completely nonsensical. Look, Trump and Cortez are not the only politicians who do this, but they've certainly become sort of the pinnacle of those things for the left and the right. Here we have a story from Vox. The $21 trillion Pentagon accounting error that can't pay for Medicare for all explained. America can afford universal health care, but proponents still don't have a specific plan. Okay, this is from Matthew Iglesias. I have criticized him in the past. But the reason why this story is so important is that Vox, who does lean left, and in some instances far left, and Matthew Iglesias, who actually defended Antifa several times, is calling out Cortez for speaking nonsense. This is when you know you got something legitimate. When the left is willing to point to the left and say, honey, you're wrong. This is bad. What you're saying makes absolutely no sense. And I can appreciate that Vox is willing to do this. Though they're not perfect, this is a time I would absolutely love to use them as a source. The U.S. military budget is such a bloated monstrosity that it contains accounting errors that could finance 2/3 of the cost of government-run single-payer health insurance system. All Americans could visit an unlimited array of doctors at no out-of-pocket cost. At least that's the notion spreading on left-wing Twitter, and endorsed and amplified by newly elected Rep. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, one of Democrats' biggest 2018 sensations, and an undeniable master at the fine art of staying in the public eye. You see what Iglesias is doing here, calling it left-wing Twitter? It's really funny, because if I or anyone else wrote this, they would say, man, the conservatives sure are obsessed with Cortez taking what she says out of context. That's what Cortez claimed, that the conservatives are obsessed with her, and they take her statements out of context. Sorry, honey. When Vox comes out and says the exact same thing, you can't play that line of defense. Unfortunately, it's not true. The idea spread like a game of telephone from a Nation article in the U.S. to the U.S. Congress while losing a crucial point of detail. The Pentagon's accounting errors are genuinely enormous, but they're also just accounting errors. They don't represent actual money that can be spent on something else. Because here is what Cortez tweeted. I know you've been dying to see what she said. 21 trillion of the Pentagon financial transactions could not be traced, documented, or explained. 21 trillion in Pentagon accounting errors. Medicare for all costs 32 trillion. That means 66% of Medicare for all could have been funded already by the Pentagon, and that's just before our premiums. Oh, my brain. What? Oh, my God. You know, I actually spoke in her defense and praised a lot of her positions when it was first announced she was running, when she won the primary. But since then, I gotta say, the gaffes. She went to school for economics. Like, I'm not making that up. She apparently has a degree in economics. And she literally tweeted this. Come on, man. You know, I hunger for a moderate, socially liberal politician. I find that, like Brett and Eric Weinstein, for instance, if you're familiar with them, I agree with a lot of their positions. I think Brett might be the closest I get, in a sense, to political and economic leanings. So I yearn for someone who can have these certain ideas and not come on, Democrats. This is the face of the next Democrats. She said that unemployment was down because people are working 2 jobs. Like, she really doesn't understand how any of this works. I don't blame her. I don't want to be mean to her. She's 28. She has no idea what she's talking about. I feel like I personally feel like Cortez was kind of an experiment. They got her into office by primarying a Democrat in a strong Democratic district. The idea was, if you want to win an actual election, if you want to put someone up against a Republican in a district, you might need 200,000 votes, because the districts are about 700,000 or more, and so you got to get maybe like 200,000 people to vote for you. That's tough. But in a primary, Cortez only got 15,000 votes. Crowley, her opponent, who was a Democrat as well, got like 13,000. It is not hard to get 15,000 people to vote for you. So what they do is they target Democrats in the primary, easily win because you don't need that many votes, and then you're all but guaranteed to win. That's probably why, in my opinion, Cortez, she was just a young bartender who was idealistic, has no idea how any of this works, and says complete and utter nonsense. Let me explain this to you, okay? I'm sure many of you already know this, because I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but most working adults can understand how accounting errors work. $21 trillion in accounting errors doesn't mean there's actual money there. An accounting error could be someone accidentally putting a number there that doesn't make sense. Okay, let me explain again. Let's say you're doing your bills, and you go, did I spend that $100 on the phone bill last month? I think I did. I'm going to add $100. Now it looks like you've spent $600, but you added that number accidentally because you were wrong. An accounting error doesn't mean money exists. It means someone added a number to the wrong spot or transferred money to the wrong place. Isn't that really obvious to adults who have to deal with bank accounts? Let's keep reading. Misunderstandings fly around Twitter all the time. And AOC's level of policy knowledge is pretty typical for a member of Congress. I certainly hope not, because the Washington Post and PolitiFact have called her out time and time again. But let's be real. We are a country of and for the people, which means regular folks who don't know what they're talking about can win. Although I think it's fair to say, like, a lot of politicians are actually millionaires. I don't know if that's true for Congress, but I think it's true for the Senate. But this particular flub is telling about progressive frustration over the double standard on military versus non-military spending, and also the fraught state of play regarding the push for Medicare for All program. Proponents of this vision have the political wind at their backs and continue to deploy the idea effectively to win intra-party arguments without really making any headway on the core obstacles to writing a Medicare for All bill that could become law. That said, to the extent that political power rather than concrete legislation is the goal, that's probably for the best. Well, I don't necessarily agree with what you're saying there, Mr. Matthew Iglesias, but what I do think is, listen, let me ask you this. If we could implement a Medicare for All system, like a universal healthcare system, that actually you would pay taxes into, but those taxes would be cheaper than what you pay now, would you prefer that system? In my opinion, if you tell me there's something good and we have a plan to get there, tell me what the plan is. And if it makes sense, I'm in favor of it. If you come to me and say it can't work and here's why, okay, I'll take your word for it if you're an expert. That means if someone says we can guarantee healthcare for every citizen of the United States, and in doing so would reduce the amount you pay in terms of your premium, you will pay an increased tax, but let's say your tax increases $100 a month and your healthcare premium was $300 a month, you're saving money. You see what I'm saying? So that makes sense. There are concerns, however, with government corruption. So there's a lot to work out there beyond just the overall costs, because in the long run, corruption can actually bring down the quality of the healthcare. Look, you might pay less, the quality might go down with it. It's an extremely complicated situation that requires a ton of planning to overhaul a fifth of our economy. So idealistically, I'm all for it. Bring it on, man. Let's do this. Let's actually focus on developing some kind of strategies to how we can make this happen. However, keep in mind, if we eventually realize it can't be done, we have to accept that as a reality. Maybe there's some other things we can do, but look, people have been trying this for a long time. They're so eager, they want it so bad, that the truth doesn't matter. But what's even more worrying is that when you realize Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez keeps making these gaffes, and if this is her understanding of finance, I'm really concerned that her ideas might be Wally World Skittles and Rainbows that make literally no sense and can never be implemented. How can you listen, if Cortez is, like, let's say there's a line, and there's everything you got to do to get to universal health care. Cortez points here and says, we want to get here. And you say, oh, okay, so do you understand everything that we have to do from here to there? And she goes, the Pentagon has $21 trillion. And you're like, whoa. That's kind of like saying we're going to ride our bikes to the mall by laying on the ground and putting our bikes on top of us. You know what I mean? Like, it's, you got an idea, right? The bike can move, but you have to use it in a certain way. Thinking that accounting errors is money, it's like, and then you realize when she said that, unemployment's down because everyone has two jobs. Is that how you think unemployment works? That really that's disconcerting to me, because if that's how you think the system functions, what's your proposed solution, right? So if you think the problem with unemployment is everyone has two jobs, you then say we're going to increase unemployment. You're like, seriously though, if you intend to get people better paying jobs, so now they're only working one job, by her logic, unemployment would go up. That would mean her strategy was to increase unemployment. Literally makes no sense. And then we see this, another gaffe. The Washington Post called her out before. Vox is calling her out now. At what point is it fair to say it's not that people are obsessed with her, it's that she repeatedly says ridiculous things that make no sense, have no basis in reality. And I'm going to say this now, listen, she's not the only one. There are other politicians who do this. For me, however, when Vox writes about it, and I read Vox, I'm not reading about the other politicians, okay? I am a subject of the news cycle as much as anybody. There's no conspiracy, there's no obsession. The only obsession is the natural ebb and flow of the news cycle. And if news outlets are getting traffic by writing about her, then I'm going to see those stories and I'm going to talk about her, and it creates a cycle. That's just how the news cycle works. Sometimes people talk about other politicians. Nobody cares. So everyone tries to talk about what's relevant. Not only that, you've propped up Cortez. You've made her the face of the new face of the future of the Democratic Party. In which case, we're going to talk about her, especially when she says nonsensical things such as this. Anyway, stick around. I've got more videos coming up on this channel.